I've decided that I want to spend a little bit of time explaining EXP's revenue sharing system to you. You may have watched, if you're a guest here or if you're an agent who's never really pursued the agent attraction side of things, you may have watched that model explained video, and you kind of understand, okay, well, there's the system whereby if I, as an EXP agent, if I attract other agents to the company, I can start earning a passive income on their transactions. My fear is that you probably don't know how profitable it can be. So I'm hopefully going to solve that problem today. About 6 months ago, EXP launched a new compensation plan. They revamped how the revenue sharing system works, and that has become known as RevShare 2.0. And that has also caused, I think, an increased degree of uncertainty as to how the thing works, because there were some complex changes that were made. Okay, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time now explaining to you how RevShare 2.0 works, and I'm going to do it by comparing it to a traditional exit plan. Because what is RevShare all about? 2 words: passive income. It's about passive income. That gives you an exit plan. And we're going to work on, let's say, a 5 to 10 year, let's say a 10-year exit plan. So, I don't know, would you like to be financially free in 10 years? That's what we'll work on today. And we're going to work on some conservative numbers around how we know the revenue sharing system works and how it grows. And I'm going to compare that to what a traditional model would look like. If you went to a financial planner, and the first thing they ask you is, okay, tell me what your financial situation is, tell me what your debt is. Now, how much would you like to be making in 10 years? And you give them a number. In fact, what I'd like you to do, actually, if you've got your phone on you or you've got a piece of paper, I want you to write down a number that you would like to be making per month as a passive income in 10 years' time. And we'll forget about inflation, because this thing adjusts for inflation. So in today's value, what would you like to earn per month in 10 years' time? Write down a number. Now just keep that number with you, because you're going to find yourself somewhere in the scenarios that I play out for you, so that you can see what you need to do in order to earn that amount. So if you got a financial planner and they use the traditional model, they're basically going to tell you, this is a bit simplified, but you can live off 4% of your invested capital. Why 4%? Because with a good investment strategy, you can earn 9% a year. Let's say you put money with Investec, or you put money with Allen Gray, or whatever, you invest in property, you can earn 9% yield on your capital, but 5% of that is eroded by inflation. So you've got 4% that it's growing. So in order to maintain your capital endlessly, you want to retire in 10 years' time, and you do what Dr. Michael Moll told us. You're going to start exercising, and then you're going to live to 123, whatever the lady was. You can still draw that amount of money every year for the rest of your life. Okay, so you can draw 4% out of an investment. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint out a few scenarios as to where your number was. Let's say you said, I want to earn 15,000 Rand a month in today's value. Did anybody have a number that was 15 or less? I didn't think so. Okay? So this is going to depress you. If you want to earn just 15,000 Rand a month as a passive income using the traditional financial planner model of saving up a bunch of cash somehow, which you have to do with your current source of income, you're now saving money that you're not spending every year, so that in 10 years' time you've got this lump sum of cash after tax, after paying off all your debt, you've got this lump sum of cash that you're now going to invest and live off the income. Okay, so after all of your living expenses for the next 10 years, and after tax and after paying off all your debt, you are going to need to invest 4.5 million rand, so after tax income, in order to draw out 15,000 rand a month. Traditional exit plan. Okay, so let's just do the math. You want to do that in 10 years. That's 450,000 rand a year that you've got to save after tax. How are you doing? And that's to earn 15,000 rand a month. One of the things that I like to do with this little presentation, or one of the things that I hope will happen, is that you will see the stark, ugly reality of your financial future. No breakthrough can happen in your finances until you face the truth. Where are you going to be in 10 years' time, financially? Okay, so who of you had a number closer to 80,000 a month? Okay, just raise your hands nice and high if that was somewhere in the region where you were, 80 grand a month. Well, if your hand's not up, was it lower or higher? Higher. You guys are ambitious. Okay, well, just 80 grand a month. Okay, I'm saying just because your number was higher. Just 80 grand a month, after tax, after paying off your debt, after living for the next 10 years, you're going to need to invest 24 million rand in order to draw out 80,000 rand a month. And to be able to do that indefinitely is the point. So, how are you doing? Are you on track to have 24 million rand to invest in 10 years' time? If the answer is no, folks, can I ask you, what are you going to do? Okay, now the third scenario I want to paint for you is, what would it take to be seriously wealthy? My wife and I flew back from Port Elizabeth the other day. No, in fact, it was back from Durban. We'd been to Pinda Game Reserve for our 25th wedding anniversary because that was where we went on honeymoon. We're sitting on the SAF Air flight back. So SAF Air is the worst, most human-degrading experience. The seats don't even recline. They call them slimline seats. In other words, like a plank of wood behind your back. And I hate flying. I absolutely hate travel. I'm sitting there. There was a guy next to me. He was used to taking public transport. And obviously the rules are different. His stuff was lying on my lap and his arm was on my arm. And in the end, I actually got into it. It was quite liberating, actually. It was just like, okay, we're in each other's space. I leaned over to my wife halfway through and I said, how much do you think a private jet costs? And I was 100% serious. She said, we can't afford a jet. I said, what about a helicopter? I said, you can't fly to Durban in a helicopter. We can stop along the way. Okay, so what would it take to have the kind of money where you could fly business class or commercial or charter a private jet? You can go overseas anytime you want to. Maybe own a holiday home somewhere. So I'm going to take a number, 1 million rand a month. Half the tax man is going to take 42% of that. It actually disappears pretty fast. So let's say 1 million rand a month for proper wealth. How much do you think you need to have saved after tax and that in 10 years' time invested with Alan Gray to be able to live off 1 million rand a month? You're going to need 300 million rand. Okay, so hopefully this is although it may be unpleasant, hopefully it's an effective entrance into the discussion of the alternative. And the good news is there is an alternative. So, EXP's revenue sharing system. There's 3 questions I want to ask about it, ask and hopefully answer for you. Number 1, what is it? How does RevShare 2.0 work? How does the revenue sharing system work at EXP? Secondly, how much money can you actually make from it? And what I'll do is I'm going to paint out those 3 scenarios using the revenue sharing system, and I'm going to use there's 3 or 4 assumptions you've got to make to project revenue share. So this is not guarantees of income, obviously, but the assumptions I'm going to make are conservative, and I will tell you what they are so that you can agree with me whether they're conservative or not. So I want to show you how much you can make realistically with the revenue sharing system. And then lastly, I want to suggest to you a little strategy for building your own revenue share team. If you think, okay, this actually is better than I thought it was, where do I start? What do I do? I'm going to give you a few pointers. Okay, so just my own story. I joined EXP as it launched. I was in the first 4 or 5 agents who joined. I had been approached in advance by an ex-client of mine, so I knew EXP was coming and I was ready and I'd done my homework and I was ready. And then as soon as we got our license, I joined and I started speaking to agents. I started hustling. I started phoning. I think I made 3,500 phone calls in the first 2 years. Hey, Sharon, I want you to take a look at this. And Sharon took a look at it and she joined. I said, hey, Paul and Alette, I want you to take a look at something with me. They took a look at it and they joined. And so I just started telling people. And over 4 years now, I now have 100 people on my first tier. That's 100 people personally sponsored. And I've got 905 or something in all through my 7 tiers in my revenue sharing system. By global standards, I have built it pretty fast. My frontline growing to 100, there are very few people internationally who've built that number of people on their first tier. So just so that you know, I've got some experience with this, and it's worked. I don't work as an agent. I don't sell properties. I don't have any other business that creates income for me. My income, and we make really good money, is from the revenue sharing system. Okay, so this is not theory for me. I'm living it, and I've done it in 4 years. I'd never heard of EXP 4 years ago. Okay, so let's start with what is it. We're going to look at a pre-cap commission. Okay, so let me just explain that to you in case that's cloudy. When any agent earns a commission at EXP, either they are in a capped status, so we've got a bunch of capping agents in the room, and if they have already capped, how much will they keep of that percentage, of that commission? 96%. They'll keep 96%. There's a 4% transaction fee that we always pay on our transactions. If they have not capped yet, the company, however, in that case, still makes revenue on the agent. So when Andre and Lydia, as capping agents, do a transaction, EXP South Africa don't get any revenue on the transaction. There's a transaction fee, but that's to pay for some expenses. They keep all of the commission themselves, effectively. But before they've capped, that's when EXP do get its revenue from the agents. This little pie chart is going to explain to you what happens to that commission that is generated by a pre-cap agent, someone who is not capped yet. So if it's 100,000 Rand gross commission, how is that 100,000 broken up? Okay, first of all, the agent gets 71%. There are no further deductions off that, no secret royalty fees, no all the stuff that gets taken off at other companies. You get paid 71% into your bank account. You are responsible for your own tax. Okay? You are going to become a provisional taxpayer, which means you'll pay twice a year. You need to set money aside every time you make a commission. You need to make planning for your own tax. You get paid the full 71%. Then the little orange slither there is what we call our transaction fee. There's a 4% transaction fee that is applied to every transaction at EXP, goes to defray the expenses, and that happens even after you cap. Okay, that's why we keep 96% once we've capped, not 100. Then there is this little green slice that is called the company reserve. The company reserve, now, if you were to watch a model explained video from America, you would see that in the States, EXP agents are on an 80-20 split before they have capped, and once they're capped, they get paid 100% of their commission. So those two little slivers do not exist in the States. What's the trade-off for them? Their startup fee and their monthly costs are much higher than ours. So when they come to a country like South Africa, in fact, they've done this for the 26 countries that they've been to outside of the US and Canada, maybe outside of the UK and Australia as well. So at least 24 of the 28 countries, they work like South Africa works. The whole of the globe works like we do. America's just a little bit different. We have this company reserve. What that does is it defrays international expenses that EXP now incur because they've built their business outside of the US. So when they come to South Africa, for example, now we've got to be a member of P24, and there's a huge bill that gets paid by EXP South Africa for P24. There's new technology that has to be developed. There's CRM system partnerships that have to be put together. There's all sorts of things that they don't have in the States. That's what that 5% goes to defray. Then, the remaining 20% is what is technically EXP South Africa's revenue. So Andrew Thompson runs a profitable real estate business, cash flow positive. The business in South Africa is in a very good position financially. And that is done on 20% of the agent's transactions. That should get your attention. If you're at one of our competitors, what do most of the agents, what splits are they on? They're on a 50-50. The company is getting 50% of the agent's commissions. EXP South Africa take 20%, and we are, why? Because we have no brick and mortar. We don't have the expense of buildings. That's the big game changer. The technology has unlocked this. Okay, now the next part is going to blow your mind. So, what Glenn Sanford, the founder of EXP, said was, he was an agent, he was with Keller Williams. He said, okay, if I ever were to start a real estate business, we are not going to do a profit-sharing scheme like Keller Williams have profit sharing in the States. You know, profit of the 20%, a profit is a very small slither of the 20%. Profit is a nose of wax. You turn it wherever you want to. In fact, you always make it as small as you can so that you pay as little tax as you can. What he said is, I'm going to share off the top the revenues of the company with the agents. Now, when he was conceiving of this idea, what do you think would have been a reasonable percentage if you were there as an agent? Now, you're going to lobby for the agents of EXP in the future. You can go back in your time machine. You're sitting with Glenn Sanford. He's coming up with the idea. And you're going to nudge him as he's now deciding, what percentage of the gross revenue of the business are we going to share with the agents? What percentage do you think would have been reasonable? Say, Glenn, make it. Shout out a number. Shout out a number. What would have been reasonable? 5%. You know, if you said to Dr. Andrew Golding, not to pick on Pam Golding, I love the Goldings, actually a wonderful family. Anyway, I love them, got a lot of respect for them. But if you'd said to Dr. Andrew Golding, Dr. Golding, will you please share 5% of the company's gross revenues? Will you just write a check every year and just give it to the agents? That would represent a significant change in their business model. You'd have trouble getting that through the board meeting at the end of the year. 10% maybe. 15%. Here's what EXP have done from the very beginning. They give half the company's revenues back to the agents. So how is EXP South Africa so profitable? On 10% of the commissions made by the agents. And those commissions are capped at 600,000 gross commission. After that, you keep it all for yourself. That's how good the systems at EXP are. That's how well designed this company is. Okay, so let's put rands and cents to that. Sorry, that purple slice that's going to get paid back to the agents, that's where the money comes from for the revenue sharing system. That's where it comes from pre-cap transactions. It goes into what is called the revenue share pool. Okay, just remember that name. That's where, and it's global. So all of the revenue share pool money internationally gets put into one bank account, effectively, one revenue share pool, and then the revenue share gets paid out to the agents globally from there. Okay, let's put rands and cents to it. If an agent caps, somebody tell me, what is their gross commission income before all the splits and stuff in order to cap at EXP South Africa? 600,000 rand, okay, great. So you do 600,000 gross com, then you've capped, well done. If an agent caps, I want to show you in rands and cents where that 600,000 rand has gone. Well, the agent has kept 426,000 rand of it. 24,000 rand has been paid in transaction fees, 30,000 rand in company reserve, and then the revenue of the business, which was 120, EXP South Africa, in our case, gets 60,000 rand, and 60,000 rand of that capping agent's transactions goes into the revenue share pool. Now, this does work on a monthly basis, okay, so that it gets paid out every month. But over the 12 months, you're going to have 60,000 rand put into the rev share pool from a capping agent. Is this making sense? Are there any questions? Okay, if it doesn't make sense, and you're too ashamed to ask a question, get the person who invited you to explain. Hopefully, that does give you an idea of where the money comes from to pay revenue share. It's effectively 10% of the pre-cap commission generated by EXP agents globally. Okay. So this next slide actually is, I'm going to go into that purple slice, the revenue share pool. How do you get a bigger and bigger portion of this revenue share pool paid to you? How do we get access to it? How is it divided? That's what the next few slides are. So we're going to focus and we're going to double click on the purple. Now, in order to understand that slide, you have to have a degree in like aeroscience. That is a screenshot from EXP's slide marketing deck. So I thought I'd better put it up there. Hopefully, there's a slide after this, it's a bit simpler. But that big pie chart is basically the purple slither. It's that 60,000 rand for a capping agent, how it is divided. And you're going to see the bottom line of it. Look at the blocks on the right. It is divided through 7 tiers. Now, in our case, it's going to be 7 tiers or generations of agents above the transaction that was just done. So let's take an example. So I want to pick someone sort of further down line from me. So Christelle does a transaction. And let's say she caps in a single transaction. There's 60,000 rand now that goes into this revenue share pool. What EXP do is they look at who the person is who sponsored Christelle, who brought Christelle into EXP. Everybody's linked on the system. And when they look on their system, it's all automated, obviously, they're going to see, oh, it's James Conyers. So James has Christelle on his first tier. We're working backwards now. So what's James going to get? Of that 60,000 rand, what percentage is he going to get paid? 17.5%, because she's on his first tier. Then they look at, okay, who's 2 tiers above Christelle? So who sponsored James? Steve Johnstone sponsored James. Very glad he did. And what is Stephen going to get paid? 20% of that 60,000 rand gets paid to Stephen. I actually make a little bit more than James does because our second tier is more profitable. And then so it goes down. Then they look at who my sponsor is, Bill Campbell. He would get 12.5%. So there's a tiered system. Now let's flip it. Now, instead of looking up, we're going to look downwards. You are going to sponsor another agent into EXP. You're going to show them the video. They're going to get excited. They're going to say, this thing looks incredible. They're going to join you. They join. They are now on your first tier. Every time they do a transaction, you're not doing any of the transactional support. EXP are doing all the heavy lifting. You just get paid a small override on the transaction. They're on your first tier. Up until the point they cap during the year, you're going to get paid 17.5% of the rev share pool money that they are paying in. And that's paid on a monthly basis. then that person's going to get excited. They're going to show a few friends. It happens automatically. It's unstoppable. I've showed 100 people. I now have 900 people. Why? Because people have shown people have shown people have shown people have shown people. It's just what happens. They're going to show someone. That person will be on your second tier. You will then get paid 20% of all of their transactions, and you might not have even known them. Okay, so then the pie chart is basically just working out all of that in a graphic. Now you're going to see this. Okay, I'll do that on another slide. That's perhaps an easier way to understand it. You've got your 7 tiers where it says tier unlocked. What is the percentage of the revenue share pool that you earn on your 7 tiers? Well, there it is. On your first tier, you earn 17.5%. On your second, you earn 20%, etc. On the right-hand side, if an agent caps, that is the maximum amount you will make during the year on that agent. You understand that when there's someone in your revenue share group, when that agent caps, for the rest of their 12-month cycle, you don't earn any revenue share anymore. Why? Because EXP are not earning any revenue on the agent, and so there's no revenue to share. We earn up until capping point, and then Lydia keeps it all. Okay, so those are the maximums. So on a first-tier agent, if they cap, you will make 10,500 Rand in the year on that agent. On a second-tier agent, you'll make 12,000 Rand during the year on that agent. Now, guys, let me just stop there and quote something that just popped into my head. I think it was Rockefeller. Or who's the guy that did all the mining in the States? Was it Rockefeller? Anyway. Rockefeller or some other impressive guy said this: I would rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own effort. This is about passive income. Folks, you look at that and you say, okay, you only make 4,500 Rand on an agent on your 4th tier. You only make 4,500 Rand. I've got 100 agents on my 4th tier. Can you see how this thing, it's a numbers game. But the beauty of how EXP grows is it's exponential. I've sponsored 100 people on my 2nd tier. I have 305 agents on my 2nd tier. I have 3 times the number of agents on my 2nd tier than I do on my 1st tier, because it grows exponentially. It's the numbers that make this thing get so ridiculously good. Okay, there's one other little complexity, which is awesome. EXP will, in the first year that you sponsor someone, so you sponsor a new agent in their very first year. So Esme, where's Esme? I saw Esme. There's Esme. So I've just sponsored Esme. Very excited about that. Been talking to you for a long time. Esme is formerly the top Hazelmark agent in the country for many years running. We are so glad to have you, Esme. In Esme's first 12 months at EXP, it's called the Fast Start Bonus. I'm not going to get paid 17.5% of the rev share pool of her transactions. I'm going to get paid 50%. So if she caps in her first year, which she probably will, I'll get paid 30,000 Rand during that year instead of the normal 10.5. What that does is that when you start sponsoring people, you start making good money quickly. That's why they did that. And you understand, guys, that none of that money is coming from Esme. She's getting paid her 71% and her 96%. It's EXP's portion. They are sharing their revenue with me. Right. Then we're almost finished, okay? I wanted to give you a proper explanation of how it works. There is one last thing which is also awesome. It's called the adjustment bonus. What happens is at the end of every month, there is unearned revenue share. Now, why on earth would there be unearned revenue share that gets put back in the revenue share pool? Let's take an example. Let's say my sponsor, Bill Campbell, he hasn't, but let's say he's left EXP. He's decided he doesn't want to do it anymore. Christelle does a transaction. James will get his revenue share, I'll get my revenue share, but now there's this vacant position above me. What happens to the revenue share that Bill should have been paid? Well, EXP would have had every right to just keep it for themselves. Bill is left, we'll keep that income. They had every right to do that, but they don't. They just put it back in the rev share pool. Why else would there not be unearned revenue share? The left-hand side of that slide is important. You see where it says FLQAs? In order to earn the revenue share on each of your tiers, with the exception of your first 3 tiers, they're automatically unlocked. That was also a recent change. You used to only earn automatically on your first tier. Now they've just opened all of your first 3 tiers, which is awesome. But from tiers 4 to 7, you have to unlock your earnings on those tiers. You don't automatically earn. How do you unlock it? By having a certain number of frontline qualifying agents. What's a frontline qualifying agent? Basically someone who does 100,000 Rand gross commission every 6 months. They have to be an active agent. What EXP are trying to stop people doing is sponsoring their granny, their grandpa, their dog, their cat, and just loading up 5 people so that they then open their 4th tier. So they said, no. You're not going to game the system. We are a real estate company. We want good agents. So, I mean, it's not a big, like 100,000 gross commission every 6 months. I don't know how that person's paying the bills, but that, as long as they do that, they're a qualifying agent on your first tier. So I've said to you, I've sponsored 100 people. Not all of them are FLQAs. A percentage of them are FLQAs. Well, you need 5 FLQAs to open up your 4th tier. 10 for your 5th, 15 for your 6th, and 30 for your 7th tier. Okay, so now that then answers the question. If we go up the line of sponsorship from Christelle to James, to me, to Bill. Now Bill sponsors a guy called Barton Smith. What tier is Christelle on for Barton? She's on his 4th tier. He needs 5 active agents on his first tier to unlock his revenue share on Christelle's revenue share pool. Let's say Barton doesn't have 5 on his front line. What happens to that income? EXP take it away from Barton and they put it back in the rev share pool. Okay, that's where this bonus comes from. And then what they do is they just proportionally pay everyone who's earning revenue share, they proportionally pay you the bonus based on how much is in the revenue share pool. So what's the bonus on top of all the other income? It's normally between 35 and 40%. So if my rev share for the month is 200,000 Rand, when it ticks over on the day that they release the rev share numbers for the next month, the number on my dashboard will just go to 280,000 because of the adjustment bonus. Were they doing this at your previous company? No, they weren't. So here are some estimated figures. What I want to do is just give you an idea of what you can earn with this. Again, please, this is not guarantees of income. Fortunately, I don't live in America, so I don't have to worry about people suing me. But still, I want to make it clear, I'm not guaranteeing this. We're making certain assumptions for the spreadsheet to work, but I'm going to tell you what the assumptions are, and you can tell me whether you think they're conservative or not. So our first one was to earn 15,000 Rand a month. Somebody remind me, how much did you need to save in the next 10 years and invest after tax to earn 15 grand a month? It was 4.5 million Rand. Okay, so now here's the alternative to that. You can sponsor at the very top, the top arrow is how many people you personally sponsor. So in this case, you personally sponsor 6 people in the next 10 years. Now, the first assumption we make is, what will the multipliers be between tiers? For every 1 person you sponsor, how many will that end up over 10 years on your second tier? Because it'll be more. After 4 years, I've got 100 on my first tier. I've got 305 on my second tier. What's the multiplier there? 3. You guys are so sharp. 3. I've got 3 there. I've seen the revenue share screenshots of Brent Gove's organization, who's got 30,000 agents, and I've seen Rob Flick's organization that has got 20,000 agents. They'd both been in for 6 or 7 years when I saw the screenshots. The multiplier between first and second tier after 6 or 7 years is 4. Mine is 3 after 4 years. We're taking a 10-year plan, so I'm going with a multiplier of 3. It's conservative. And then the multipliers are much higher again in reality, but I'm just going to go 2 onto your third tier, and then 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. We're just going to keep it low, the multiplication factor here. That's the first thing. Second thing is we're going to assume that only a percentage of your agents are frontline qualifying agents. In this case, it's on the right-hand side, only 2 of the 6 are actually doing deals. So you've got 4 unproductive agents, you've got 2 agents doing deals. That doesn't matter with this one, but as we get to more and more frontline, it's gonna start unlocking tiers for you. In this case, you've got a total group of 60 agents after 10 years, and if the average agent is doing, okay, you tell me, what do you think would be a conservative estimate for what the average agent sells per year? How many homes per year? Average. 6, 4, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll tell you what I did do. This spreadsheet is worked out on the average agent only sells 2 homes a year. And the average selling price is 1.8 million rand. A mansion in Port Elizabeth, but for Cape Town, not so lucky. So 2 deals a year, 1.8 million rand, and only charging 4%. Okay, that's what this spreadsheet is built on, that assumption for those 60 agents. So hopefully you agree that that's also conservative. Well, if all of those things, you're happy with those assumptions, there's the number. You will make 11,000 rand plus the adjustment bonus gives you 15 grand a month. Okay, so now we want to ramp it up. Our next level was to earn 80,000 rand a month. How many people do you need to sponsor personally? Because the only thing you need to worry about is that top number. How many people are you personally going to sponsor? And the way the system works is the rest will unfold over time. Well, in order to earn 80,000 rand a month, you're going to need, and remember this is not going to happen overnight. We're taking a 10-year exit plan here because it takes time for that exponential growth to happen. You're going to need to sponsor 25 agents on your first tier. That will lead to, over 10 years, it's far too long. It'll happen much quicker than that. But over 10 years, 400 people, a group of 400 agents, if they're each doing an average of 2 deals a year, you will make 79,000 rand a month. Now, what did you need to save to earn 80 grand a month? 24 million rand invested in 10 years' time, or go and sponsor 25 people. The next one was True Wealth. Okay, this is an ExecuJet membership, which I've been investigating, where you just fly private everywhere you go. 1 million rand a month. What would it take? I mean, it just seems ridiculous. You say 1 million rand a month. I mean, who earns 1 million rand a month? I'm going to show you what it would take to earn 1 million rand a month. Okay, there we go. You sponsor 130 people on your first tier. That expands with conservative multipliers over the next 10 years. You will be earning 950,000 rand a month. Okay, so guys, I want to suggest to you, if you look at the alternatives here, remember I started yesterday, I said to you, I have 2 convictions. Number one is, if you're not an EXP agent, you will be happier because of the freedom and the systems and the autonomy, and you will make more money as an EXP agent. For the vast majority of agents, that's true. And the second thing I said to you is, the best chance you have as an estate agent of being financially free, of earning proper passive income in the next 10 years, is to use EXP's revenue sharing system to do it. I told you yesterday, those are my convictions. Hopefully, I have justified that here. So let's talk about what you do. This is not a big training thing on how to go about building a revenue share team. In fact, in the platinum session, which I'm taking now after lunch, I'm going to be doing a little bit more detail on how you go about building a big revenue share team and 7 things that I've done that have really worked for me. But where do you start? This is where you start. Decide what you want. You know, so many people never commit to anything, and they always have an excuse for why it just hasn't happened, and they're always delaying it, and there's always some reason why it didn't happen. And actually, you just got to get to the point where you make a decision. I believe there is untapped, unestimated power in a made-up mind. And I'm not talking some new age thing where you manifest it by contemplating your navel and saying the word 20 times in the morning and it's just going to attract and come to you. That's a bunch of baloney. What I'm saying to you is you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if you make up your mind about something, you can do something great. Just make your mind up. And you know, it's when we hit the bottom that something changes. That's Johan Nolan Ubering. I know you guys are smiling. I'm actually exhausted, guys. I'm so tired. I've had a hectic week and I get emotional when I'm tired. But that picture to me is just, it's so pleasing to like see you guys and how you've prospered, and that picture with 2 suitcases and a family and Ubering because you don't have anywhere to stay. We're so pleased for you guys. Johan decided what he wanted. Okay, number 2, make a list of every estate agent on the planet that you know. It's as easy to sponsor an agent in America or Dubai or India or the UK or any of the other countries where we operate as it is to sponsor your next door neighbor. They fill in the Join app on the website in New Zealand, and when they sign the contract, they put your name down, and forever you earn passive income on the on the New Zealand team and however big it gets. If I can say one other thing, if we do as South Africans get agents in the US or Europe or the UK or any of those countries, we make, I've done the maths, about 4 times what we make on a South African agent in our revenue share team, simply because of the exchange rate. It is the first time in your life you are going to be so happy that you live in a country with a weak currency. It's an incredible opportunity if you know people in Europe or the States. Introduce them, get hold of me, I can help you to do that. So make a list. This list must be written. A list is not a list if it's in your head. They asked the top income earners like Jay Kinder, Gene Frederick, Brent Gove, they asked a bunch of the top earners in EXP, if you could go back and change one thing about how you started when you got into EXP, what would you change? And they all said the same thing: we would spend more time making our list. You may not get that yet. If you get serious about this and you start making calls on a weekly basis, you just got a regimen every single week, you're going to phone X number of agents and start recruiting. I'm telling you right now, you are not going to want to sit down at your office desk and start scratching for numbers. You don't want to get down, you've got an hour you've set aside to do agent attraction calls, and now you're going to start scrolling through Property 24. You need a list of agents. And if you, obviously, the better relationship you have with them, the more they know, like, and trust you, the easier it's going to be to get into a conversation with them about EXP. If it's cold calls, it's going to be more difficult. Make a list of every agent that you know, people you've dealt with, people you've met. This is why we also see agents throughout the world running networking events and breakfasts for agents in their area. Not just EXP agents, all agents are welcome. They get guest speakers. Why do they do it? Because they're wanting to meet more agents in the area. They're wanting to build trust and build rapport. And then over time, those agents start saying to them, hey, tell me about EXP. Make a list. Number 2, time block a weekly session to make X number of phone calls. I'm not going to put a number in there. You need to decide how many phone calls you're going to make per week, set the goal, maybe you need to be accountable to someone, get a coach, and see it through. You're not going to build a revenue share team in the first month, in the first 3 months. You are going to have to be persistent for like a 12 to 24 month period where it actually becomes an obsession. And you are so disciplined every week, phoning. What I did, okay, forget it. I mean, I could tell you 1,000 stories, but I was consistent with phone calls and showing people the model every single week for 2 years. How do you do it? When you meet, show them the model explained video. You do not have to explain anything about EXP. You don't have to be able to explain the revenue sharing system or how the split works or what capping is or who the company is or how it got founded or how big it is, how many agents it's got. You don't need to do anything. You just say to them, I want you to take a look at something with me because what you've told me about yourselves, I think there may be an opportunity here for you. When can we meet? You sit down, you watch that video together. It is 30 minutes. It is very cleverly put together. You want to know the number one tool I've used to build my business? It's that video. That is what has built my business. Because it is duplicatable. Everybody can use it. Doesn't matter how good I am at winning people. When I sponsor Noreen has to be able to, that afternoon, say, hey, Andre, I saw something today. Watch this. That's what creates viral growth. It's duplication. That video, use it. Even if you can explain EXP, don't. Show the video. Because that person can then show the video. They feel like they can do it too. There's gold in what I just told you. Book a 3-way call with them and your leader. That's all you do. You make a big list, you make regular phone calls, you make appointments, you show the video, and then you say, listen, I'm pretty new to this. I need you to meet James. This is a guy, he's a superstar. And then you organize a 3-way call with James, or with me, or with Javi, or with whoever your leader is. There's something about that third-party affirmation, that authority figure that you bring into the conversation, that they help you close what you can't close yourself. Again, this has been learned through many multi-level marketing companies. We know it works. Just trust the system. Trust the process, like Chuck was telling us. Okay, so we got 2 options. You want to earn 15 grand a month, or do you want to earn 80 grand? I want you to take a look at the number. Take a look at your number. Look at it. I asked you to write down a number earlier. Okay, where is it on there? Well, here are your options. Option A, save 4.5 million rand in the next 10 years, or 24 million rand, or 300 million rand, or sponsor 6, sponsor 25, or sponsor 130. Guys, this is the best shot you've ever had at proper wealth and financial freedom. As an estate agent, I'm telling you now, you are not going to see a better opportunity than this. But it's not going to come to you. You've got to go and get it now. And it's hard work. But if it wasn't, everybody would do it, hey? It's hard work. So when I was doing this presentation, it was just providential that at the time, I got a WhatsApp from Neil Robinson, who spoke so well yesterday. I got a WhatsApp from Neil with a screenshot of my EXP. So Andrew was talking about my EXP and how it's the technology that helps us build our revenue share groups. I use this thing all the time. So he sends me this screenshot. So he had a group size of 26 at that time. I think yesterday showed it's 45 now. So it was 26 people in his rev share group, and his rev share was 20,000 rand for the month. He sent me a screenshot of it, and I then sent a message back to him, and I said, I'm just busy doing a presentation I'm building a presentation. Do you mind if I show a screenshot? I said, no, it's fine, you can show it. So I then get this the next morning. It keeps going up. And this is not the price of bread we're talking about. This is good. It keeps going up. It was now up to the next morning, it was up to 28,000 rand for the month. The best part of that was this. Remember I told you the story that he was offered a partnership with like the top agent in the country and it would have been millions of rands, but he said no. Why? I can see my future. This business is such a blessing. See, Neil caught a vision of what might be. God bless you, Neil, and may God give you the success that you're after. Neil actually told me after I finished this whole presentation, he ended up making 60,000 rand that month in revenue share. Because of that fast start bonus, he had a number of agents in their first year, like Nick, and he earned, I think Nick kept in one transaction. So Neil would have earned 30,000 rand that month on that one transaction because of the fast start bonus. All right, so guys, I got some thank yous to say, and then we're done.